Come together. From many homes, from many rooms, come together and join in sacred community. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Congregation of Westchester, or welcome to the Minister's Home Study from the Unitarian Congregation of Westchester in our online worship service. I'm Reverend Dan Schatz. I'm the minister, and I especially want to welcome any visitors to our online service this morning, or newcomers. We hope that we'll have the chance to get to know you. You can say hello in the comments. You can go to ucwc.org and or you can send us an email if you'd like more information about our congregation, or if you'd like to be in touch directly. Normally we have a Zoom social hour after the service. Today, instead of the social hour, we are having an important town hall instead. This is the opportunity for us to give some updates on what's been going on. There's some very exciting things to report, and what to expect, or what we don't know what to expect, as the case may be. The link and the password are in connections. We'll put them in the comments for this service, and we'll put them on the screen for the end of the service. And I would like to say, if you are one of those newcomers and you really want to get to know us better, you are welcome to be part of that as well. That information, as I say, will be up at the end of the service. Unitarian Universalism holds that great good comes from a wide diversity. So whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your heritage, and from wherever your beliefs spring, we are pleased that you are here. Let us walk a while together. As a reminder, please check connections and check our online calendar for announcements and for information on how to access our various online events. One of the things that we're doing right now, and I don't have all the information right in front of me, but we are creating a password-protected area of the website where you can get the login information for all of the various Zoom meetings that are happening. We've decided not to put passwords to Zoom meetings up on the public area of the website, largely because of the issue that some congregations have been having with people trolling Zoom meetings. So instead of that, we're going to have this special area, and we'll let everybody know what that is and how to access it. In addition, next week's service is going to be our annual flower service. Now, obviously, we're not doing that in person. Many of you have sent photos of yourselves with flowers, or have sent just the flowers, or artistic reconstructions of flowers, or some people have sent even more creative options than that. If you haven't sent a photo yet, please, if you can do that today, that would be good. Today is the deadline. If you get it in by the end of tomorrow, I will be able to include it in the service, and I would really, really love to have as broad participation from as many people in the congregation as possible. That includes newcomers, that includes whoever you are. You are most welcome to send in a picture of the flower, and that's minister@ucwc.org. And as I say, we've been getting some wonderful flower selfies and other pictures of folks with flowers. It's just been warming for me to see your faces after so long. You see my face every week, but I don't get to see yours. So it's been really wonderful. And for that service, that service will not be available online after the day it streams. That way, nobody will have to worry about privacy if you're worried about that with your photos. We enter into worship together by lighting the chalice with words from Albert Thielander. We hallow our time together today by kindling the lamp of our heritage. And our opening hymn today is the beautiful hymn, "For the Earth Forever Turning." And I invite you, wherever you are, to sing. That really was quite beautiful. I invite you to join me again wherever you are in the words of our unison affirmation. We gather aspiring to be a thriving, caring, and welcoming community that supports each person's spiritual journey, embraces diversity, challenges us to live responsibly, and is a catalyst for a just and compassionate world. Well, for our Time for All Ages, I have a story that I learned from a David Wilcox album. It's a very simple story. I don't know how long it had been since these two neighbors, these two farmers, had spoken to each other. And the argument started over the silliest thing. There was a cat that was, a stray cat, and the cat went over to one of the farmers' houses, and that farmer started feeding it, and then the other farmer started feeding it, and each of the farmers said it was their cat, and pretty soon, every time they saw each other, they started arguing with each other, and pretty soon they stopped talking to each other at all. It had been a long time. So that one day, when a traveling carpenter arrived and offered one of the farmers to do some work, said, "Do you have any work for me? I'm looking for a job." The farmer said, "I do have some work for you. You see that farmhouse up on the hill? You see that hill, and then that sort of ditch that's running between the two hills? All right, that farmhouse, that's my darn neighbor. And that ditch, he calls it the creek. The creek. He dug that with his plow. Well, you know what? If he wants to separate us, I want to finish the job. I want you to build a wall. Build a fence all the way across. I don't want to have to look at him." Carpenter thought for a minute, and he looked at the job. He said, "Well, yeah, I could do that. I would need more wood. I could get started with what you have around here, and if then, you're able to go and get some more, I'll be able to finish the job." So the farmer drove off in a pickup to get some more wood. Came back a few hours later to find that the carpenter had built a bridge all the way across. And coming across that bridge was a neighbor onto his land. Big old smile on his face, hand outstretched, said, "I'm so sorry." He said, that took courage for you to do that after I dug that creek. He said, "I'm so sorry. Can you forgive me?" The farmer said, "Heck, I knew it was your cat." And they began talking, and they began catching up. And they saw the carpenter beginning to leave. And the farmer said, "Wait a minute, I have some more work for you." And the carpenter said, "Don't worry, you'll be fine." And the two farmers became, once again, the best of friends. So we have a song that goes with that story today. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Build building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
That song is around, and I always, when we do rounds in this format, I imagine you're all singing, and because of internet lag, you are singing at the different times, and it's a perfect round. We just don't know it. Our congregation is so fortunate to have members that have held us up through this time and that continue to do so. We don't have collection plates that we can pass on YouTube, but we have set it up so that you can donate on the web or by text or by app, and instructions on how to do that will come up in just a couple of minutes. I hope that if you are able, you will use these services, or you will consider sending a check or adding something to what you pay for a pledge each month. Because at this point, that's one of the sources of income that's for the congregation that's very uncertain. And as always, if you are one of the people who has been hit hard by this crisis, please reach out to me. We have a minister's discretionary fund that is saved up to help one another in exactly these kinds of times. It's been bolstered up a bit because people have understood that there is likely to be a need right now, so don't be shy about reaching out for help if you need it. Thank you for your generosity in every form. We will now receive our morning offering. For these gifts and for all that we give in so many ways to all of our communities, we are truly grateful. Our reading today is from a UU lay leader named Betty Bobo Saden, and it begins with a word that we don't hear too often in Unitarian Universalist congregations, and that word is sin. She says, "Sin is what caused me to leave the church and give up religion, and sin is what brought me back." In my grandmother's house, sin was associated with pleasure. All those things that I thought were fun were of this world and therefore sinful. Dancing, playing cards, going to movies, all condemned me to hell. which made it sound like a pretty interesting place. In my father's house, sin was associated with form and ritual, eating meat on Friday, coming into church with the head uncovered. These were misdeeds to confess, but I couldn't feel guilty about any of them. Years later, my 3-year-old son came running to the house to tell me a neighbor's boy had just told him God would kill him if he told a lie. I decided it was time we found a religious community that would sustain and encourage our beliefs. That we are part of a universe of diversity and interdependence. That the diversity of our world suggests that truth and beauty take many forms. That God is concerned with the enhancement of life. That evil is life-destroying. That sin is associated with self-absorption, and that salvation lies in selflessness and service. A religious community that is in the world and concerned with the world. The words of Betty Bobo Saden. It happened almost 50 years ago in Kyoto, Japan. Representatives of the world's religions came together to dedicate themselves to peace. They acknowledged the real differences among them, but they said we share a sense of the value of human community. They spoke of an obligation to take stands on the side of the poor and the oppressed. They dedicated themselves to the cause of disarmament. It was a radical event, even for that radical time, and it grew over the decades. The most recent conference took place just last year, and Religions for Peace, as the coalition is now called, is one of the most respected interfaith groups in the world. It is also one of the most effective. But the greatest achievement of that first conference is that it happened at all. Despite divisions, despite religious differences, despite the nationalism that plagued the world then as now, diverse religions came together in praise of peace. There were two faiths that led the way all those years ago. One was the Risho Koseikai in Japan, a Zen Buddhist movement which is dedicated to peace. And the second was the Unitarian Universalist Association. Reverend Homer Jack, a Unitarian Universalist minister, personally organized that first conference and led its activities for many years. It's not an accident that we were there at the beginning. The only way a movement like that can happen is with the foresight and commitment of people who believe in building bridges. And the only way religions can come together across the divisions many have been preaching for centuries and more is with the vision of people of faith who understand that there is power in diversity of faith. We weren't alone in 1970, but we led the way. We aren't alone today either, but we're still leading. I'm proud that in 2003, when a reporter asked the UUA president, Bill Sinkford, where Unitarian Universalists stand on the issue of same-sex marriage, he didn't miss a beat. We stand on the side of love, he said. And that's where that phrase comes from. I'm proud that later that year, in the chapel of the Unitarian Universalist Association headquarters in Boston, Reverend Sinkford performed the first legal same-sex marriage in this country. He pronounced the couple wife, and later said that whatever expectations he had when he was elected president of the UUA, being on the cover of People magazine wasn't among them. We weren't alone then either, but we led the way. I'm proud that when the Black Lives Matter movement began to take shape over the past several years, Unitarian Universalists were vocal in our support. And I'm proud that some of us began learning how to listen better, how to listen more, how to understand privilege, and how to center the voices and experiences of African Americans and other people of color. I'm proud of this faith. Most of us have a good idea why Unitarian Universalism matters to us. Or if we're newer, we're on a journey of figuring that out. We know how much it means to us to be in a community where we celebrate our diversity instead of hiding it, where we treat our differences of opinion as invitations to deeper relationship instead of barriers to unity. We know how much it means to us to bring our minds as well as our hearts into religion. We know how important it is to us to move beyond easy answers that placate but don't satisfy. We know how much it means to live with the conviction that this world matters and it is up to us to make this world worth living in. We know why Unitarian Universalism is important to us. What I think we sometimes forget is how important Unitarian Universalism is to the world. If we've learned one thing over the past 2 months, it's that we no longer exist in isolation. We are connected with every place and people on the globe. And when we're not able to be connected in person, we're connected through the internet and social media. That's been helpful during a time when we're all stuck at home. We can connect with each other. We can reach out to support and learn from others. Some of us go to work from home, or go to school from home, or even go to Sunday services from home. That would have been a lot harder 20 years ago. That kind of connection represents something else as well. People all over the world right now are able to connect with reserves of wisdom in ways that we never have before. The borders of nation and culture mean less and less. Bridges of diversity and respect mean more and more. And those bridges of diversity and respect are very important because while we can connect with reserves of wisdom, we can also connect with reserves of foolishness. So we need the respect. We need the wisdom. We need the understanding of diverse needs and of our interconnectedness. Now, I believe that's absolutely necessary for the hope of the world we are becoming. And Unitarian Universalists know how to build these kinds of bridges. We know how to seek wisdom in many places, and we know how to do it responsibly and respectfully. We know that it's not about taking whatever just feels right to us without any regard for its culture or for its context. It's about learning from the collected wisdom of humanity and understanding that this kind of learning means stepping away from our assumptions and into somebody else's worldview, another religion's wisdom. The world needs our kind of spiritual freedom and respect. But the world needs more than that. Science is reality. That simple statement is more important now in the era of climate change and COVID-19 than it has ever been. Science is reality. And too often, religion has opposed science, afraid that any embrace of new scientific truths would destroy the old religious ones. Unitarian Universalists know better. We've always understood that revelation is never ending, and that reason and science will always have insights to give us and new questions to inspire. At the same time, we also understand that the most important kinds of truths religion has to offer can't be supplanted by science because they come to us as story, as metaphor, wisdom, ethical teaching. We can hold on to the wisdom of religion and the learnings of science at the same time while respecting the limits of each. And when we do that, we grow spiritually. And we do it without having to create artificial divisions. When we do this, we move toward wholeness. And that's important because despite the availability of an internet and a wide world of connections, community doesn't happen automatically these days. We have to seek it out. We have to put effort into it. And we need that also to be whole. It's easy to find voices to listen to, but often the loudest voices on social media and in cable news outlets are rich in opinion and poor in substance. That leaves a gap. It leaves a spiritual need. Unitarian Universalists aren't the only ones answering this need, but we do it in a different way than many others. We don't assume a single path to wholeness or teach that there is only one way to live a spiritual life. We don't assign beliefs. We do teach that spiritual living is important and that we can be called by life or by God or by spirit, by mystery, by reality, by something we can't name, to be engaged with the world. We find new paths to the sacred even as we lift up the old ones. And the language we use to talk about spirituality is far less important than the integrity with which we live our lives. We are a religion for the world. And when I say that, I don't mean that everyone in the world should become a Unitarian Universalist, or that Unitarian Universalism should try to become something all-encompassing that waters down everything so that nobody ever has to feel uncomfortable. That's not what we're about. And when we have gone down that road in the past, we left it behind for good reason. The diversity of our faith does not come at the expense of the integrity of others. What I mean when I say that we are a faith for the world is that we take our responsibility to the world and to the people in it very seriously. We don't place our hopes in other worlds. We work to make this one stronger. We don't long for the end times. We make this time a beginning. We don't set one group of people over another. We bring people together. That's what it means to be a religion for the world. It means we dedicate ourselves to humanity and to the interconnected web of existence of which humanity is part. Right now, that includes taking a hard look at the impacts of COVID-19. It means asking why Black and brown communities have suffered the effects of both the disease and the economy so much more severely than white communities. It means being honest about what we already know, the effects of racism and inequity on health, on economic resilience, on access to medical care that make so many Black and brown communities more vulnerable. I know it's hard to pay attention to things like this when so many of us feel like we're in survival mode. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time reading or watching or listening to the news. It's just too much. But Unitarian Universalism teaches us that we are all interconnected and that we can't ever be separated from other people in other places. We are a religion for the world. So we pay attention to racial inequality. We pay attention to the abuse of immigrant children that is still going on. We pay attention to climate change because it is all connected. And we take action. Maybe this year that doesn't mean leading a large demonstration, but it might mean making sure people have access to the ballot. It might mean supporting campaigns like UU the Vote, making sure people know how to vote by mail. And if you don't know, you can vote by mail, and you should do it soon, register for it soon. It means advocating for voting rights nationally. It means making changes in our own lives for the sake of the planet and advocating for changes in national policy for the same reason. And it means looking to the community that surrounds us. It means supporting organizations that help the people who have the least, as we do every month in our Share the Plate program and as we are doing in our Pay It Forward program. It means connecting with other faiths, as many of our children did this year in the Crossing Paths class, and as we've done when we've partnered with St. Paul's or with the Islamic Society or with other congregations in the area. It means reaching out to the whole community. It means building bridges. It means being a religion for the world. We won't always agree on all the issues any more than we all agree on how to approach them or how to find the perfect balance between care for one another, nurturing the inner life, and going out into the world to promote our values. We're used to that. We know that authentic community means differences in priorities and opinions, and that change sometimes happens too slowly and sometimes too fast, and sometimes things get a little messy on the path. We know these things. But we also know how to communicate openly and honestly. We know how to honor differences. We don't always get what we want. We know how powerful it can be to nurture small groups of committed people and give them space to flourish. We know that when we do these things, it makes the world better. And when we're engaged in the world, we can teach it to others. Unitarian Universalism matters to each of us and to the world. I honestly believe that the world needs what we have to offer. The Westchester community needs what we have to offer. And when we join together in the unity of our many voices, all of our voices, all of our visions, when we shout our values from the rooftops and live them in our souls, then the promise of our faith grows and deepens here and across the world. As we move into the time in our service now, when we lift up the joys and sorrows of our community, I'm going to invite you to sing with me. So in our congregation, members light candles before services in honor of the sorrows and joys in their lives. And in this online service, we light candles and share the joys and sorrows anonymously. And so we light a candle for a former member of our congregation who passed away recently. For a member's family friend who just gave birth to a child with special needs. For one concerned because their vote by mail ballot took a long time to arrive and urges everyone to register to vote by mail as soon as possible. For one whose son-in-law's mother is in the hospital with COVID-19, so far doing okay. For one whose daughter serves as a nurse in an emergency room and who goes home to a large family in her small town. And as always, we light a candle for all of the joys and all of the sorrows which remain unspoken. And again, I invite you to sing with me. Together, wherever we are, we enter the sacred place that has many names, beginning with a few moments in the community of quietness. In the most difficult times, this community has been a blessing in ways we do not even know. And in the lives of so many, each one of us has been a blessing. In the freedom that inspires us to grow and to search for meaning when the world has changed and to make the world better, our faith has been a blessing. May our whole selves awake as once more we move toward wholeness within and wholeness in the world. Amen, and blessed be. Our closing hymn today was written by a minister by the name of Thomas Mikelson. And Tom Mikelson was, among other things, the minister of the first Unitarian Universalist congregation in Cambridge, Massachusetts, right on Harvard, right on Harvard Square. And he was a mentor to many of us who went through Harvard Divinity School. Was one of the readers on my master's thesis, and he passed away a little over a week ago. So in memory of Tom Mikelson, and because it is in fact the perfect song for this week's service, I invite you to join in singing "Wake Now, My Senses."
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
It was so beautiful. We listened to it a time and a half. I want to remind people that again that after today's service, we have our town hall. We'll give people a few moments to get gathered. Please, stay through the postlude, and then we'll begin to virtually gather on Zoom. If you haven't been to one of our online social hours, the information on how to access it should be posted here with video, or you can find it in connections, and we would very much like you to join us for this meeting. We really do have some things that are quite exciting to be able to report, and I think it's important that we connect with each other in this way, especially now. May this faith be strong within you. Feel it, find it, know it, breathe it, then give it to a world that needs you. Go in peace.